Hey guys, this is Anthony Morganti from anthonymorganti.com, and this is episode 143 of Photo Critiques. And in this episode, I'm pleased to critique the work of Majde Halasa. I hope I pronounced that right, Majde. Majde tells me that he's a Jordanian medical student in the Ukraine. And with all the stuff going on in the Ukraine, I hope Majde is safe and sound. This first picture, this typical picture of what we photographers do, we have something, blocking out the sun. We get this, sometimes you'll have it silhouetted or sometime like this where it isn't, where you could see some detail. And this is a scene as I look at it that it's kind of barren. We got this tree and it's kind of interesting. It's, middle, no leaf, or winter, no leaves on it. And it's a little cut off over here. I would have liked it if you wanted to photograph the tree, if you can't get the whole tree in the shot, you're at 20 millimeters already, is to get in closer and just kind of concentrate on this part of the tree. Other than that, though, the scene itself isn't overly compelling. The sky isn't super interesting. I mean, we got some snow on the ground. We have this railing, which is kind of interesting. And as I look at the scene, we do have some interesting graffiti over here. We have this canal or creek that comes through. So I'd like to see you work the scene. I think there's a lot of subtle colors in this kind of granite-like stone that has made up this railing here. And you have this graffiti here, and I'm wondering if you could do some selective focus where you're shooting at these kind of cannonballs, but have the graffiti in the background and have the graffiti in focus and the cannonballs out of focus, something like that, or vice versa. Or maybe angle your camera real low and have one of these block out the sun, and you could get all this subtle detail in the stone. Something like that. So it comes down to working the scene and seeing what is really interesting in the scene and try to exploit that. This is a nice shot. This reminds me of a hospital that's here in Buffalo. Obviously it isn't though, but that's what it reminds me of. And it's a nice shot. We do have these trees that are partially obscuring the building, and the sky is interesting, so I would definitely take a shot like this. And I like that you got the entire group of buildings in the shot, and they're not cut out. What I think I'd like to see you do though is take another shot where you're pointing the camera down so the top of the frame is just above the top of the hospital, and you get all these trees in and maybe some of this like parkway here too, with all the cars parked around the parkway, and you get more of the people walking on this path. And I think that would add some interest to the shot, and then we'd have more of the trees here and they don't look like they're just hanging in midair blocking out part of the hospital or the building. I don't know if it's a hospital. It's a nice, very nice focus, nice color. The only thing I'd like to see you do on a shot like this is not have it right in the middle. Use the rule of thirds. It's the easiest thing to do in your head, in the camera. And, so you divide this up like a tic-tac-toe board, and you put this egg where the two lines intersect, either here, 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 or here. You can try it different ways. And I think it would make more compelling image if you did something like that. This too, we got kind of selective focus. We have the grasses right in the middle are in focus, and the colorful things in the back and the front are out of focus, and it kind of frames it a little bit, top to bottom, and it's nice. I consider this a fine art shot. It's kind of in the eye of the beholder, and it's not something that I think really should be critiqued. This is a really nice shot too, and this goes against kind of conventional thinking. Whenever we photograph flowers, we tend to not ever want anything wilted. We want it to be very alive and vibrant, and here we have all kinds. These leaves are all wilted and the flower itself is wilted, and the scene itself is really, really busy, but Majde did a great job of getting himself and the camera in a position that isolated the flower. So the flower, as you look at it, doesn't have anything in front of it and nothing that is distracting right behind it. And it's really a nice job of isolating the flower. And he used an aperture of 5.6, which did a nice job of blurring out all this stuff in the further background, and then everything else kind of acts like a frame, naturally framing this flower. So it's a really nice way that you work the scene to isolate and exploit the flower, and you did a really nice job. These shots like this, I do these a lot because I like them for backgrounds that I'll use in Photoshop for layers to layer in and mask out or mask in and out other things. For example, I'd take something like this, maybe I'd flip it horizontal and I'd have people standing in front of this. So I do that all in Photoshop. Now, as far as taking the shot, they're relatively easy. You just look for a pointed light source like Christmas lights, usually holiday lights, and you stand good maybe 10, 12 feet away, and you close focus your lens all the way in. That means the opposite of infinity. You turn the focus ring so that you're totally out of focus, as though you were focused on something that was just a few inches away from the lens. And what that does, that when you blur these out, the actual light is probably 1/10 to 1/20th as big as this. This is as depicted here. But what it does when you blur it out, it literally blurs it out, and it does a really neat job of doing this. So you do these on these pointed light sources, and you get these neat effects, and they're abstract, and they stand up on their own as like an abstract piece of photographic art. But as I mentioned, I like to take them into Photoshop and use them as backgrounds for other things. This is a really nice shot. Very cute shot. Just the expression on her face. Now this one you didn't bullseye the subject. The subject's down here, probably right. Her head is probably right around where there's two intersecting lines. Here, while we're doing it, let's see. Well, I don't use the rule of thirds I mentioned in previous critiques. I use the golden ratio, but I could switch it to the rule of thirds by hitting the O key on my keyboard, and if you could see, it switches to different patterns. And here's the rule of thirds here. And as you could see, her eye is right in the intersection point, and that's absolutely perfect. And you could see how that added a lot of interest, I think, to the shot, because she's down here, not like right in the middle. And it just adds some interest. Now, if the background was a little more compelling, it would make it that much better. But you did a real nice job. The exposure's real nice too. It's really hard to expose properly when you have bright snow. Did a really nice job. This is a nice shot, a black and white portrait, kind of an environmental portrait. I don't think we have any metadata from the camera on this shot, so I don't know what focal length lens you used and what was your f-stop and aperture and stuff. But you did a really nice job of blurring out the background so the gentleman's head just doesn't blend into the background. It's sticking out. So it's a really nice shot. You cut off equal parts of his head and chin, which is fine. You either want to get it all in or just cut out equal parts. You generally don't want to cut out like the tip of the head and leave the chin, or cut out the chin especially and leave the head. You never want to do that. It's a neat effect, just kind of a study on color. I consider this a fine art shot too, but it's a really nice job. You did a real nice job on focus. It's very nice focus, and it's a very interesting shot. This shot here is nice too. I like we have this blurred out background again. And this one we have some metadata. This was 1/320th of a second at f(2), so the wide open aperture did a real nice job of blurring out the background. And we have the glow of the sun. And it's a really nice shot. The only little thing I could suggest is that if you did put a flash onto this and just put a tiny bit of fill flash, it would have brightened up his features on his face a little bit. It wouldn't have looked as so ruddy looking, and it would have put some catch lights in his eyes, and it would have really helped the image. It would have made the image pop. So everyone, don't be afraid to use your flash outside in the bright sunlight, especially if the sun is behind the subject. It really does add a lot to the shot. You might have to experiment a bit, because you don't want to throw full TTL flash on this picture. You just want a little fill flash, 1/16th of a power, maybe even 1/32nd of a power. Not a lot, just a little, to give some catch lights in the eyes and to light up the face a little bit. The lens flare is real nice that it's way over here. It didn't end up on his face, so that is good there. So it kind of gives you a line going across his shoulder, which does help the composition a lot. I think that's the last one. Yep, that's it. I'd like to thank Majda for sending me in his images to critique. I really do appreciate it. I hope you're safe in the Ukraine. And I'd like to thank everyone that watches all my videos. I really appreciate everyone watching everything. And if you have time, go over to my website, anthonymorganti.com. I have all kinds of photography stuff over there. And if you haven't already, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's it for now. I'll talk to you guys soon.